Bottom line is, I am going with Brees third. I know it's popular these days to say Brees number one. Brees is third, man. Favre-Marino had better arms. They were bigger and stronger. And if they were in Brees' situation, they would have done better.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is the Raw Sports Debate brought to you by Michael, Steven, and Leslie, myself. Tonight we're going to be talking about Dan Marino, Brett Favre, and Drew Brees being compared. You know, a lot of greats and sports analysts have compared them on Twitter, going back and forth, so we want to give our take on that. Also, we're going to talk about Steve Nash and the Nets situation with Kevin Durant's trade request, and also another NBA's Monty Williams getting the extension in Phoenix. Is it time to run it back? Are they going to be better, worse? You know, they got DeAndre Ayton. And also, we're going to end with Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. But to start it off, we're going to start with, you know, the greats. Dan Marino, Drew Brees, and your favorite, Brett Favre. These guys all had, you know, great seasons, 17 plus. You know, Dan Marino had 17, Brees 20 seasons, and Favre 20 seasons as well. So these guys had, you know, very comparable careers. You know, I think some did, you know, better slightly than others, but, you know, we're going to give our take on it. I'll give the floor to you since, you know, Brett Favre is your guy. I know you couldn't wait for this episode.
Man, those are three of the best quarterbacks of all time. Great longevity and great volume passers. I'll go off the top here. I'm going to go one by one. So Dan Marino was first, right? Now he burst in the league in 83. 1984, Les, he threw 48 touchdowns, 17 picks, 5,084 yards. I still remember that. Yeah. And he set the NFL record with 48 touchdown passes. The record at that time was 32. So he just blew it out of the water. He basically put up like a, you know, prime Peyton Manning or Mahomes season back in the 80s. That was unheard of. And he ended up through a couple of 4 touchdown games in the playoffs, and then he got curb stomped by the 49ers in the Super Bowl. All right, and that was just the 49ers were one of the best teams of all time. And he never made it back to the Super Bowl. And he had great longevity. He had an Achilles injury, but other than that, he never made it back. He went 8-10 in the playoffs. But he was always a great player. He just it never clicked for him. I think quarterbacks have always been important, but they're more important now than they ever have been in terms of the way the game is played. But back then, they just could not get the right combination of offensive line and defense for him to win. So he had a Wilt Chamberlain 1984 season, bro. That was like 50 points a game. It was unbelievable. But little did you know, late in his career, they got Jimmy Johnson. Do you know that? They got Jimmy Johnson, the Dallas Cowboys coach, who won 2 rings. And, they had like a Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson beef, man. Marino wanted to call audibles, and he always did it because he's Dan Marino. And then Jimmy Johnson's like, no, we got to run the ball. That's how we win. Yeah. And they got along, but they didn't really click, and that's why they had some real huge playoff losses. So that's my take on Dan Marino. All-time great. Never made another Super Bowl. Never won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay. Who came in next? Brett Favre. 3 straight MVPs. Yes, Iron Man. One of his peak was like top 5 all time, but his low was so bad. Like he's got 336 picks. Man, no one's going to play long enough to throw 15, 20 picks every season and put up 30, 40 touchdowns like he did and get away with it. But the problem was he was really clutch. Like he would have a clutch game, and then he would have a couple of big mistakes late in games. And unfortunately for him, he won a Super Bowl, won 3 straight MVPs, and then he could have won another Super Bowl. And bro, I was there. I rooted for him. He didn't make the throws. He had a couple throws against John Elway and the Broncos. He missed them. If he made them, they would have won another Super Bowl. He should have made it back. He had some bad luck, but he was fantastic. So that's Brett Favre. Brett Favre was Kobe Bryant to me. He just took too many risks. He really believed in himself, and that's who he was. And he didn't have Phil Jackson and Shaq, all right, to help him out a little bit. Now, Drew Brees is unbelievable. great longevity. He has the best numbers of the three. He also played in the best era of the three, and he played in a dome. His first 4 years in San Diego were very pedestrian, and then he walked into a situation in the NFC South with Sean Payton, a dome, not that great of defenses. Kind of reminds me of Steve Nash going to D'Antoni and the SSOL Suns. So he has the best numbers. He did not win an MVP. He won one Super Bowl and was the MVP, and he was phenomenal. And he has had some bad luck in the playoffs too. Man, it feels like every quarterback has bad luck in the playoffs except for Brady. A lot of these guys have bad luck, man. So bottom line is, I am going with Brees third. I know it's popular these days to say Brees number one. Brees is third, man. Favre-Marino had better arms. They were bigger and stronger. And if they were in Brees' situation, they would have done better. I can't decide between Favre and Marino. I'm going to go, man, I'm going to go with Favre, but man, like, I don't even feel right doing it, man, because he won. The tiebreaker is the rings and the MVP, but I don't know, man. I have to think about this more. I'm going to go Favre, Marino, Brees, but I'll let you have the floor.
So Favre 1, Dan Marino 2, and Brees 3. Not bad. Respectfully, I would, have to disagree on that. And, either or, I don't think these numbers are wrong. Personally, I saw more of Brett Favre and Drew Brees, live, as opposed to Dan Marino. But that doesn't mean I haven't seen his games. I mean, a bit young. I was 8 to 10 when he was, at the end of his career. But still saw, everything. I think he was the most durable one on the list. Him and Favre for sure. He had only one season where he didn't play. He played only 5 games. His whole career, he played 11 plus games. He played a lot of games. But when you look at the stats at the same time, like you were saying, he didn't get back to that Super Bowl. He didn't get back to Super Bowl, even get back to that kind of 84 career that he had, insane. And also looking at his stats, he was the one that was the least sacked. He had seasons where he was sacked only 8 times. That never happened in Drew Brees' or Brett Favre's career, just so you know.
Great point.
He's had seasons where he was sacked 5 times. No, none of them had it.
He would just throw the ball out of bounds.
Exactly.
Yeah, my dad told me that.
He took care of the ball very well. So again, at the same time, I can expect him to, maybe do more with the fact that, the pressure never really got to him. As opposed to somebody like Drew Brees, he's played a lot of years where they depended on Drew Brees' arm and intelligence as opposed to protect him in the line. You know what I mean? Favre had great receivers around him. They knew that if you give Favre somebody he can throw the ball to, this man is going to risk it, So I think these guys, sometimes have some, advantages to them. Also, you got to also understand, Drew Brees also had Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, great playmakers, one of the best to ever do it as well. So when you have these guys, they complement your career a lot. So looking at the eye test and everything, yes, of course, Dan Marino was, the QB one, looks and everything, he's the guy, America's quarterback. But again, I think he fell a little bit short with things like, touchdowns compared to these other 2 guys. Brett Favre turned the ball a lot, but whenever he got it back, there were times where he took care of it right. He took care of it when it was most needed, but also he turned it over more than anybody else, Again, in playoffs, Dan Marino and Drew Brees had similar 18 games. They both played 18 games. Same thing with Favre. Favre played 24 games. Favre had 44 touchdowns. Dan Marino, 18 games with Drew Brees, both 18 games. Dan Marino goes for 32 as opposed to Drew Brees 37. Not that much, but again, interceptions, Dan Marino has 24 interceptions. Drew Brees only 15. Drew Brees, you knew he would take care of the ball. You leave that ball in his hands, and at some point, You trust him, So me personally, I'm going with Drew Brees at 1, Favre at 2, because you can't go wrong with Favre, and then Dan Marino 3 in that order.
Another point that I just thought of, and I feel you. I think that Brees has an advantage with his era and playing 9-10 dome games a year. And you know what he did in playoffs? He has that Rodgers effect. Like he wouldn't. That's at least that's what I've seen lately. It's like the lack of picks, but he didn't take enough chances, or he couldn't take enough chances. Yo, something else I need to call Favre out on. That dude lost so many fumbles. So you got the picks, and he lost fumbles.
And the fumble. Yeah,
Brees
he turned the ball
so many
just
fumbles.
in general,
and all three of these dudes were clutch as hell. Like, so they were clutch. Marino had a famous game where he did a fake spike. He did it against the Jets. People were so mad. He was pretending he was going to spike it, and then he takes it and throws the game-winning touchdown. Like, that dude was really clutch. He would go off script and throw game-winning touchdowns against the coach's orders. Like, I'm almost talking myself into Marino right now. Either way, it's hard, though, when you only make one Super Bowl and don't make it back. It's like, why didn't he produce in the playoffs? I'd have to watch every single one of those playoff games to understand why. But, I respect your opinion. But, Dan Marino is one of those dudes where it's like, he'll always go down in history. And
absolutely.
I think that he
top 10 for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know. We're going to do a top 10, top 12 quarterbacks in the last, since maybe like 1980, me and you will do
top
that.
Top 10 of all time. Yeah. Just like we do for every sport, all time. Yeah.
All time is rough, but all right. We may have to extend it to 15 just to be kind.
Nah, 10.
All right. We'll see.
Top 10.
That's tough. But man, listen, I'll go with Favre for now, but I got to do some digging on this because I tell you what, man, I saw a Marino documentary last month. That dude was amazing.
He was amazing, to be completely and then also, yes, Drew Brees again was in a situation that wasn't the best, with the Chargers after he broke his collarbone. He had to, and tore his labrum. He had to, move on, and they did him a little dirty. That's when, they got what's his name, the young man and Eli. Rivers. No, they got Manning. They drafted Manning, and Manning didn't want to go there. So then they took Rivers, exchange for him, which worked out at that time for both teams. Even though Rivers didn't do much besides, have a lot of kids and throw a lot of picks, and was nice during some games. That's for sure. But anyway, moving forward to our next conversation, Steve Nash and the Nets.
8 kids. Eight kids.
He will forever beat me, bro. He will forever and ever beat me. I don't care how much money I have.
You still got time, bro. You still got time.
You know what? Let me take that back. You're right, brother. You're right. I might start my own basketball team. But anyway, moving on to our next topic. We're gonna talk about Steve Nash and the Nets being approached by the owner, by Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant approaching the owner, letting them know that, hey, I just want you to know I'm still requesting this trade. I will stay if you get rid of Steve Nash and the general manager. So now, the call is up to them. Even though the Nets owner came out and tweeted that, he stand behind the coaches and the general manager. So to me, it looks like KD is going for sure. Where do you think this turned? Like, what happened,
It's funny. Steve and I last episode were talking about player empowerment and how it got to where it's at. And it's like it went from like the best players of all time having this sway to like now you just got to be an all-star. But KD is one of the best players of all time. So I get it. My problem is how he went there. He wanted, it seems to me like he's frustrated with the organization and the coaching, and they're frustrated with him. Like, he's the one who wanted them to sign DeAndre Jordan. He's the one who wanted them to sign Kyrie. And again, we both love Kyrie's game, but he doesn't play a lot of his games. So I don't know, man. I feel like Kevin Durant, he wanted to go to the Suns. We talked about that. He may want to go somewhere else where he has a better chance to win right now while he's only got a few years left. I just think he's trying to see how much power he really has. I think he's just trying to flex. That's my opinion. I think he's just trying to flex, see how much he can get the Nets to budge. Now, I don't know what the issue is with Steve Nash personally. Nash is a novice head coach. He didn't seem like a great head coach. He seemed like an average one, not a bad one, but not a good one. So,
well, maybe to add to your point, maybe that's why, Kevin Durant, he's played with some good coaches, but I think I would say he's played with coaches that, are, better than Steve Nash. And maybe at the point of his career, he wants that that change, something mass. Like right now, it's like like you said, how many years does he have? He has 3, maximum potential KD, and I think 2, not the Kevin Durant that we know, and not the Kevin Durant that we know is still gonna put up 25 points. Okay, the KD now can give you 30 in the next 2-3 years, so he's trying to maximize, whatever he has now. And I think he thinks Steve Nash is not going to be the guy. But let's look back last season, whenever the training session was always over. Apparently Kyrie had his own training session with the team. There had to be something going on. I don't think they trusted him fully. KD has proven to us that he can produce more than Steve Nash has proven to us, and that's a fact. He has power in this situation. It's quite unfortunate they're not going to give him what he wants, because that's going to look bad on the organization as a whole. Like, how come a player is now going to tell you, hey, get rid of the coach and the GM, even though they're the ones that probably brought him in, now let's get rid of them, because I run shit now. And I don't think that's how, some coaches want to be around. Like, great coaches don't want to be in that environment as well, where they don't feel like, they're in charge, and I don't think Steve Nash, has that momentum, that power over these players. I think he might be a player's coach, but, he still needs some years. Kevin Durant has proven to us and shown to us what he can do. He has not fallen off. Even last year against the Bucks, we saw what he was capable of doing. This year, when his whole team was gone missing, he still proved to us that he's still top 5 in the league, against Boston Celtics, even though he didn't have the greatest run. But again, I think, the team as a whole didn't play well, but maybe that's where Kevin Durant is pointing fingers. Maybe they should have brought in, more role players. I think they signed, 2-3 big names, and then the rest was like, yeah, we'll let it play out. But, I don't think the Nets have a great team, rotation wise. And also, guys like Ben Simmons and all of that not being available. Also, maybe KD and Kyrie might have wanted Ben gone, but maybe Steve Nash sees something else in him. You got to understand, Steve Nash and Ben got something going, Australia. They got that going for them, and they both lefties and, like soccer. So they might have.
Yeah, one's one of the best shooters of all time, and one's one of the worst shooters of all time.
One is not a shooter, and one is one of the greatest shooters of all time. Okay. And then the other one don't want to shoot.
But yeah, other than that, they got some stuff in common. But
yeah,
man, we got to remember how they got there. They wanted Harden. They gave up their depth to get Harden, and then that didn't work out. And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with those three, with Harden and
Nash.
Harden, KD, and Kyrie, and then you got Nash. So,
Harden left, and then Nash became the third problem.
Yeah, but now, and then Simmons didn't play. I heard he dropped out of the group text when they wanted him to play. That's what I read, but who knows if that's true? But who knows? I don't believe anything I read. But the funny thing is that I'm not sure how this gets resolved. It seems that the Durant, maybe he's frustrated. It seems like he's still friendly with Kyrie, but maybe he's frustrated that maybe he felt gassed in the first round against Boston. Because he was carrying it when he did play this year. He played around 60 games. Maybe he was gassed, from carrying the load, and he is getting older. So, I'm not sure how this ends, but I'm going to still stick with my prediction. Going to find his way to the Suns. It's going to be like a 3 or 4 team deal. Going to find his way to the Suns at some point before the playoffs. I'm sticking to it.
We'll see. Well, speaking of the Suns, they're our next topic, since their coach, Monty Williams. I think he well-deserved extension he just signed. With the Suns being overall, number 1 seed in the West. Last year, going deep in the playoffs as well, getting DeAndre Ayton back, and then this extension. How do you see the Suns coming up this year? Short, or you think they're going farther with their current roster?
With the current roster, they're going to the second round or the Western Conference Finals at most with the current roster.
Okay,
that's how I see it. I picked them to win last year, as you know. But, CP died out a little bit. Booker had a couple bad games. And, the bottom line is they're not going to have, as great as Booker is, they're not going to have the best player on the court once you get, even in first round series sometimes. Now, you can get away with that when you got the best overall team and you're playing Joker. As great as Jokic is, that could work for them. But you start playing against Luka, Kawhi comes back, the Curry and the whole Warriors team, their roster right now, they're a second round exit, in my opinion, based on what I saw the last year. Unless CP drinks some of that Space Jam juice and he gets back at it. But I'm just being dead honest. But if they can swing a trade for KD, I'm picking them they can make the conference finals or the ship. Anything's possible with KD. So I think that's what they're hoping.
That is true. But at this point, giving up something to get KD.
Bridges. Give up Mikal, you give up Cam Johnson, you give up 3 first-rounders, and you go all in for 2 years.
That's not enough. Not enough. They're going to want Chris
KD ain't
Paul.
young in springtime, man.
That's fine. They're still going to want Chris Paul. Listen, if Rudy Gobert can demand 4 first-round picks, 4 picks just in general, just think about that. With some players, KD is going to get the whole team, And then here's the thing, right? We know DeAndre Ayton and Booker will not be part of that deal for sure. They just matched that deal. So DeAndre Ayton is not going anywhere and Booker is not going anywhere. That's the face of the franchise. But here's the thing. You have arguably the best defender in the league. You don't get rid of him. Their best bet.
He's not.
Their best
top 10
bet. Who's top 10?
Bridges.
Last year,
I didn't see none of that great defense in the second round. I'll tell you that.
Against what team?
Dallas. He was great, but late in that series, man,
who was he going up against? Tell me. He was going up against a guy that did it against Paul George and Kawhi, the best two-way players in the league. Bridges is still young.
I love Bridges. He's the warden. I love him.
Defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart was fighting for his life against Steph Curry. These guys are still who they are, but there's levels to it.
I'm just saying, you never know with Ayton. You never know. If you can give up Ayton right now to get KD for 3 years, would you do it?
I would get rid of Chris Paul, Cam Johnson, and a couple of pieces. And this is why I'll do that, right? Why? Because the Nets, they don't give a damn about no Cam Johnson or
They don't want
Bridges.
Chris Paul.
They would rather want Chris Paul. Why? Because he's a locker room guy. He's a great leader, and he can make the guys around him better. He's proven that wherever he goes, he's gonna, get you to at least 40 to 50 wins. Okay. At least 40 wins. Let's put it that way. His agent, things going barren. 40 wins. That's better than, the situation they're in right now if they don't have KD. Okay. But think about it.
I see. That's the only point that you got.
You don't need.
The Nets should get Chris Paul so they could win 2 playoff games this year as opposed to 0 last year. That's the only point I'll give you.
I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, you don't want it to happen. But if it was to happen, the likelihood of them accepting a trade with a Chris Paul in it over a Cam Johnson or, Bridges is less. Bridges and Cam Johnson less likely. Chris Paul, very likely.
You see what I mean, though, right? You see what I mean?
I understand what you got to say.
They would give up the youth. They would give up the youth and say, hey, we're going to get 3 runs here with Paul and KD and Booker and Ayton. Or no Ayton. Just Paul, KD, and Booker.
That's not going to work. Ayton is not going nowhere. He's their second best player on their team. They value him more.
There's a lot of hurt feelings, though. He said everything's cool, but, there was a lot of tension.
Absolutely. I get that. But here's the thing, right? They had an opportunity to just straight up sign him. They didn't. You know what they did? They let another team sign him, and then they matched the offer. They go, you know what? We can pay you that. We will match that offer. That wasn't too bad for them to, decide and, go that route. So, just think about it. With Ayton, he's still young. Booker's still young. KD younger than Chris Paul, but here's the thing: you need that youth on the team, that core. You need that. But when you don't have Chris Paul, you can have a good point guard. You don't need a great point guard when you have Booker, and if you have Booker, KD, Ayton firing on all cylinders, you're straight.
And back to your original point, Monty Williams, very good coach.
Very good coach.
Deserves coach of the year. Not a great coach, in my opinion. Very good coach.
He's up and coming. Up and coming. Listen,
very good coach.
You got to understand, Chris Paul just gave him his first playoff win. Okay? This man is up and coming. Last couple of years. Yeah, he just gave him his first playoff win. And you got to think about it. There's coaches that get into a situation like a Steve Nash. He just got done playing his first job with the Nets. He gets this guy and that guy and that guy. You know what I'm saying? But somebody like, Steve Nash, Martin Williams, he's proven himself. You give him a little bit, he's going to work with it. At least he still got some stars on his team. But yes, absolutely well-deserved coach of the year, well-deserved extension as well. And I think the Suns are up to do some damage if they can, tweak a couple of things there. But with their current roster, first or second round this year. Why? Because the teams coming up, they're going to be so much like they did more, a team like Dallas, they're going to be better. Why? Because they tweaked and got a couple of pieces. They did lose Jalen Brunson. Let's not forget that. But, if they meet Dallas again, they're definitely going to miss him. They're going to miss that second, guy coming off the bench and, firing at all cylinders with the first team.
Not as much as the Knicks missed the playoffs.
That's for sure. The Knicks thought they got Michael Jordan Jr. They're about to find out sooner than later. Now let's hop on to our last NFL topic and the topic for the day. Deshaun Watson, 6-game suspension. Some people think he should have gotten more. Some people think that's enough. Some people think that's not necessary. What do you think, Mike? This whole situation, everything that went down.
It's unfortunate. Everything I read about it was, the allegations are not pleasant to read. However, you know what? The NFL has always been inconsistent with suspensions. We saw what happened with Ray Rice. We saw what happened with who is a guy in Kansas City, Big Ben, Kareem Hunt. And let's just keep it real. It depends on how good you are and what position you play. Ray Rice was fading out a little bit, and he was a running back. If Ray Rice was Patrick Mahomes, he that level at that position. He would have been back in the league, So I think it's a decent suspension. I would have gone half of a season. I always would have said 8 games. You could make an argument for more. You really can't make too much of an argument for less. It's hard to think that all of these, things were false, and especially he didn't seem to have that much contrition, which annoyed me a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm not. Listen, it's off the field. He's a great player. He did miss a year last year, although you could argue that he was holding out a little bit. That matters as well. So I personally may have docked him some of his money, because I don't think he lost any money. So maybe just take away a little signing bonus or something, some kind of slap on the wrist. I would have gone 8 games and a few mil, and that would have been it. Because at the end of the day, the NFL is a private business, but it's a public business. And they're trying to appease all sides. So I get it.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, this was a situation where they wanted to appeal. Make sure, the fans are not too upset, but make sure the fans don't feel it was too harsh. It wasn't too soft, kind of thing. Why? Because if you think about it, the team was actually involved in this situation, okay? Some of these accusations from some of these women were people that the team actually suggested and requested to, massage and whatever the hell that was going on, Deshaun Watson handled the situation very well, which, I'm sure his legal team told him not to say much. So it was really hard to see what was the truth, Why? Because most of the time, this will come out, we'll hear new things, and then it'll all die down, and then it'll come out, But also, you got to understand, like you were saying, he was holding out. He wasn't holding out. He wanted out of Texans. A week or less than a week later, it comes out that all these accusations. So,
that's fishy.
Very fishy, very fishy.
I would have wanted out of that too. With Bill O'Brien just ruined that team, but yeah.
Exactly. So after that whole Bill O'Brien situation, it was dead from there. Watson wanted out. The organization, you can tell, did not support the players at that time. So yeah, that made me not trust the Texans as a whole. If you think about it, Bill O'Brien literally got rid of DeAndre Hopkins because, quote unquote, he has too many baby mamas over there. And listen, this guy, whatever he does off the field, that has nothing to do with anything. His baby mamas are not interrupting with
Is that
practice.
true? Was that the rumor?
Or anything. Yeah, that was the rumor. And why he said something about it as well himself, in an interview. So yeah, that was not very pleasant. So again, you have your own team fans coming out saying that, yeah, Bill O'Brien does and that, and then he still gets traded. I don't respect that personally. But then after all that happened, you still got rid of Bill O'Brien. You ruined it for everybody. One, you made your quarterback unhappy. You ruined your relationship with your quarterback coach and GM, getting rid of his favorite target and one of the best receivers in the league at that time,
And he always showed up. He played every freaking down. Always he caught every ball near him, man.
Absolutely. That guy is, Mr. Hands-on. So it comes to a point where
it's all Bill O'Brien's fault, basically.
Bill O'Brien started this whole shit. If you ask me, it went downhill after all of that. No
disrespect to anything that happened.
No disrespect to what he did at Penn State and all of that.
No, I meant no disrespect to the actual, allegations against Watson.
Oh no disrespect to none of them. Like I said, I don't know
being half sarcastic
behind it. The truth behind it, not really sure, but we all can sit here and say, just tell me about it. You know what I'm saying? Tell me about it. Bill O'Brien is the guy that, he's the guy to come in the locker room, start some, and then he's out himself too. So my opinion, the Texans knew they were going to get rid of Bill O'Brien, one, for performance, and two, starting all of that went on. I wouldn't get rid of DeAndre Hopkins because why? He is a core to your team. Bill O'Brien is replaceable. DeAndre Hopkins is not that replaceable. He is, but at some cost. You understand what I'm saying? At some cost. And they gave him up for nothing, if you ask me.
And we talk about, we've had so many conversations about coaches. Some coaches can take a ragtag group of team, and instead of going, let's just go on a 16-game schedule. Instead of going 6-10, he'll grind them out to 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Bill O'Brien is. But it takes a special kind of coach.
Not even in the NFL.
Mm-mm. I think he did that pretty well. But I'm saying, give him that. But I'm saying, dealing with star players and everything that comes with them, that's a talent. That's something we talk about with Steve Kerr and Phil Jackson and Popovich. That's a talent, man. And Bill O'Brien had literally the opposite of that. So not to digress too much, but listen, Watson,
it was supposed to be his way.
Yeah, exactly. My way or the highway. But listen, Watson I'm interested to see what happens with the Browns this year. I think they'll have a pretty good year, but I don't think, I guess we'll have to see, man.
I think the Browns 17 games this year. It depends on how Jacoby Brissett can hold it down for those 6 games. Because, like I said, any allegations, you always want to be very cautious, what you assume and say. Why? Because, it could be truth on each side. There's his story, her story, and the truth, that kind of situation. So I feel bad for the women that went through what they had to go through. And I hope Watson really is a good man like he claimed he is. And at the end of the day, I just want to see great football, But at the end of the day, I'll stand on it and I'll stand on it any day. I'll take Deshaun Watson on my team as a quarterback.
Hey, wrapping it back to the beginning, Brett Favre had some issues with, the lady as well.
Yeah.
That was when he was an old dog,
Absolutely. So we hope, that, they can all settle this situation. I hope everybody is in a good place right now and we can move on from it. But moving forward, I could see them being 9-7.
So 17-game season thing.
So 9-8. You say what?
Yeah.
9-8, 10-7 if they can go 3-3 with Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, by the way, shout out to the NFL for caring about player safety. Shout out to the NFL. They talked about it for years. And what they do, they lowered overtime games from 15 minutes to 10 minutes because that's going to save players. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to add an extra game and not give you an extra bye week. And we're going to keep Thursday night footballs. Way to be hypocritical.
Let me tell you this. Nobody gives a damn about preseason games, NFL. We want you guys to know that right now. We do not care about preseason games. If it was up to us fans, pay the guys more and add 3 games. You want to go 20 seasons? Sure. Give them 2 bye weeks. NFL is that kind of game that you need a break in between.
Preseason
we're both athletes,
for cuts and stuff. The preseason is to see players like, finalize your 53-man roster. That's what it's for.
But yeah, listen, preseason games should be like, just like, when you go to other sports, like for example, you go to European football, soccer, right? A team preseason is up to you. You can pick up and be like, we're going on tour. Hey, Jets, could we come over, have a little, joint practice, blah, blah. Cool, sure. All right, hey, Niners, da. Do your own thing on your own time. Don't make it mandatory for a lot of people. Why? Because mini camp people are already getting hurt. These guys don't need to be hitting each other for no damn reason. If we have enough players to cut right before then, sure. But honestly, 3 games, we don't want it. We don't care. 1 game. If that's the case, if it's really about showcasing, 1 or 2 games, but I'd rather take more NFL regular season games and pay the guys more. NFL, I stand on that. Pay the guys more. NFL and WNBA, pay them more.
WNBA's got to make some money first, bro. All right. Ladies got to come out and support their ladies.
It's sports. We love sports, bro.
We'll support them, when
I go to their games. I go to Las Vegas Aces games. I'm a huge fan of Kelsey Plum. Yeah, right. I like that girl. I'm a huge fan of her since she was in Washington State. And I've been a fan since she's been in the WNBA. What needs to happen is they need to market it better. And I think more of, the owners that are in charge should be, I think like, for example, people like LeBron, KG, these guys that got money, you got to buy yourself a team, that's how you're going to bring the fans, sitting here saying the ladies should go sit there. Bro, how many ladies are sitting at the NBA game?
More ladies go see the NBA games by far than WNBA games. So
I understand that. It's more, the more you get us guys in there, it's going to be more. That's what's going to happen because we're going to take our ladies there regardless. I took my girl to a game. She didn't even know what the hell we were watching, But
listen,
now she's
it's like
on
Bill Burr said, the women are all supporting their Kardashians. They're watching that. They're watching Real Housewives. They're watching Kardashians, 10 times more than they're watching WNBA games. I don't want to hear it. But I appreciate your sentiment. I agree.
They need to get paid more. Like I said, there's ways and how they can maximize their potential. They have great talent. There's fun things to watch, but they got it like their season is short. Too many, like it's not enough teams, but again, they need money. They need all those funds. I think, like I said, the guys, in the NBA, like the way Kobe was going to games, wearing their jerseys, this and that, they can do the same. I have a daughter now, right? And who knows, she might be in the WNBA, but if she going, go that route, I want to make sure she, her pockets are drenched. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's all we fighting for. By the end of the day, great episode as always. My brother Mike, we do this, and we're coming back this week. Top receivers. We're gonna talk about that. Top quarterbacks. Power rankings for the NFL, and then we'll get into some NBA. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Anything to add, Mike?
Yeah, NFL previews coming this month. We got season starts in about a month, so we got to get a full preview every division, every round, picking MVPs. We gotta lay that out.
And then we're gonna come up with our mock draft. Since we're both gonna be in the same fantasy, we're coming up with our mock draft. Let the fans know the kind of guys we like.
Yep.
Sounds
All right.
like
a plan, and we still got top 10 NBA all time.
All time. Next, yeah, absolutely.
That's coming. You better get ready.
Oh, I'm ready. You know I've been ready. I'm here to offend everybody. You old heads.
Yeah, you're trying to offend me.
I ain't gonna offend you. All right, brother.
All right. Peace out.
Right. Yeah, peace out. You have a good one, man.
Go eat.
For sure. I'm hungry.